Welcome, and thank you for watching the Assert Yourself Workshop videos. My name is Jennifer, and I'm a behavioral health consultant here to facilitate this workshop, which is provided to you by the Edmonton Zone Primary Care Networks. As part of the medical home concept of care, through a family physician and the interdisciplinary services provided through Edmonton Primary Care Networks, welcome to this workshop. Let's get started.
Welcome to your medical home. When you walk through our door, we get to the heart of all your healthcare needs. Your family physician is the key to your medical home and knows you best. As a member of a primary care network in Alberta, your family physician can access a dedicated team of health professionals who together can provide you with the care you need through every stage of your life. Your medical home is where you can get reliable care you can trust at any time of the day, including accessing after-hours care without having to visit the emergency department. Your medical home is also where registered nurses, pharmacists, mental health professionals, dietitians, and other health professionals work with you to keep you living your healthiest life. By managing chronic disease and offering continuous care through your family physician, with links to specialists, hospital procedures, and treatments, providing earlier detection of disease and improving access to the care you need when you need it. So welcome home. We're glad you joined us.
Communication is a complex activity that involves verbal and nonverbal aspects, as well as the language used, the topic under discussion, the history of the participants and their beliefs, values, and judgments that they bring to the conversation. Ineffective communication occurs when the meaning of a message is misunderstood. The Assert Yourself Workshop has 3 videos for you to access. In video 1, we will look at passive and aggressive communication styles, breaking down the verbal and nonverbal characteristics of each. We'll take a brief look at the passive-aggressive communication style and analyze the cost and benefit of using each communication style. Video 2 will break down the components of the assertive communication style, looking at the verbal and nonverbal characteristics, exploring roadblocks to acting assertively, so addressing some of those things that might be getting in the way of expressing ourselves in a clear and direct manner. And we will learn I statements, which is the basic message of assertive communication, which will help address the language we use to articulate our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Video 3 will explore different ways of saying no and why saying no can be difficult. Video 1 explores characteristics of the passive and aggressive communication styles and will analyze the costs and benefits of using each communication style. We start by looking at the passive communication style. This is an indirect style of communication that puts the wants, needs, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs of others first. Here is where we see people-pleasing, avoidance of expressing one's feelings and opinions, and avoiding conflict at all costs. We start by looking at the verbal characteristics of passive communication. If we are speaking to someone and they are responding passively, we might hear long, rambling sentences that may not arrive at a point, hesitant and filled with pauses. There will be fill-in words such as maybe, sort of, lacking confidence or conviction. It could sound vague, non-committal, or saying very little, hinting, assuming, or hoping that the other person will read their mind. We will hear agreement. There will be indecisive and saying things such as, I don't know, whatever you think will be best. Frequent justifications, using phrases such as, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, or I wouldn't normally say anything but, before expressing an opinion or asking for help. apologizing inappropriately in a soft, unsteady voice. I'm so sorry to bother you. Qualifiers. It's only my opinion, or I might be wrong. Self-dismissal. It's not important, or it doesn't really matter. Self-put-downs. I'm useless, hopeless, you know me, while praising others. And excessive permission asking, not taking responsibility for decision making. As we move on to the nonverbal characteristics of the passive communication style, we are looking at body language, facial expressions, and gestures. If we're engaging with someone and they are responding passively, we will see that eye contact is not going to be direct. Their gaze will be averted, looking down or away, and not looking someone directly in the eye. Posture can be slouched or hunched, trying to physically be as small as possible, crossing arms for protection. Gestures such as wringing hands or fidgety, covering their mouth with their hand, jaw trembling, nodding in agreement, a limp handshake, and a soft monotone voice. Because this style of communication is indirect, it means that wants, needs, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are not expressed directly and are often held in. Feelings on the inside do not match what is shown on the outside. This can be observed as winking, smiling, or laughing inappropriately when expressing uncomfortable emotions, such as anger, resentment, or when responding to criticism. And here we have an example of passive communication.
Here's your tea, Mother.
Oolong?
Yes.
Loose, not bagged?
Yes.
Steeped 3 minutes?
Yes.
2% milk?
Yes.
Warmed separately?
Yes.
1 teaspoon sugar?
Yes.
Raw sugar?
Yes.
It's cold.
I'll start again.
This is a good example of both verbal and nonverbal passive communication. Leonard is very agreeable, and we can see that inappropriate expression of feeling. He's smiling, but clearly not happy. Moving on to aggressive communication. Unlike passive communication, this is a direct style of communication in which wants, needs, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are expressed at the expense of others, violating the rights of others. Communication is not a two-way street, but more my way or the highway, and is often focused on winning the conversation. Looking at the verbal characteristics, if we are communicating with someone and they are responding aggressively, what we will hear are blaming words, not taking responsibility for mistakes. The tone is sarcastic, cold, harsh, shouting, threatening, abusive, and rude. We will hear put-downs and opinions that are expressed as fact. Frequent use of the words such as should, bad, and ought, as communication is not a two-way street and the opinions or beliefs of others are not taken into consideration. Other language and statements that can be heard are you always or you never, you must, because I said so, don't be stupid, haven't you finished that yet? Why on earth did you do it like that? And if you don't like it, you can leave. The nonverbal characteristics, again, include eye contact, posture, facial features. If we're engaging with someone and they're responding aggressively, what we will see is direct eye contact, glaring or staring the other person out. Personal space will not be respected, and they may be leaning forward or over and be too close. Gestures such as pointing, fist clenching, fist shaking, striding around impatiently, crossing arms. Here it's not for protection, but is viewed as unapproachable and to create a distance or a barrier. Scowling when angry. Because this is a direct style of communication, what is felt is accurately expressed. Jaws set, firm, or clenched. Here is our example of aggressive communication.
You have no style or sense of fashion.
I think that depends on what you're...
No. That wasn't a question. There's some reason that my coffee isn't here. Has she died or something? I don't understand why it's so difficult to confirm an appointment.
No, I'm so sorry, Miranda. I actually did confirm
Details
last
of
night.
your incompetence do not interest me.
Hi.
Breakfast here. Are my eggs here? Where are my eggs? On the lingerie shoot. On my car. Or on Madison. Get us a reservation for dinner. Thank you. Notes delivered today. Both of them. Where is everyone? Why is no one on this side? If you don't have that Harry Potter book by then, don't even bother coming back. Oh, don't be ridiculous, Andrea. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants to be us.
Miranda does a good job at portraying aggressive communication. Although she's not screaming or yelling, she is verbally aggressive in that her opinions are expressed as fact. She is rude, cold, harsh, and judgmental. Her attitude has total disregard for others. Now we will look at the passive-aggressive style of communication. This is another indirect style in which anger, resentment, or uncomfortable feelings are expressed in a subtle or passive way, or with passive resistance, rather than openly confronting an issue. An example could be that my boss gives me a project that I don't want to do, or that I disagree with. Instead of having a direct conversation about how I feel, I would just agree to do it and then I avoid it, undermine the project, or sabotage it and never actually complete it. Other examples would be ignoring someone or giving the silent treatment, complaining behind someone's back, or giving backhanded compliments like, "I just love how you can wear anything. You look so good in old clothes." Here is an example of an office kitchen fridge. The note says, "Stop eating my soup. I know who you are. I'm watching you. I mixed a little oxy powder in my soup today. Care to find out what that is? Try a bite." It's interesting as they say, "I know who you are," but they don't approach them directly. What could happen here? Could this escalate? What kind of work environment is this going to create? A place of comfort and support? Not likely. Here, the mode of communication is passive in that a note is left and the message it conveys is aggressive. If we are not as assertive as we would like to be, it's important to learn what the costs and the benefits are to using passive and aggressive styles of communication. There are reasons for why we behave the way we do, and before we change a behavior, it is helpful to understand what is motivating it. Why do we do the things we do? Not only looking at the costs or the negative consequences that occur from behaving this way, but what is the benefit? What are we getting from it? When we ask ourselves these questions, it can highlight what our needs are and help us to make a change to better get our needs met. We'll start with passive communication. Remember, this is an indirect communication style, and it involves internalizing our thoughts, feelings, beliefs, wants, and needs, and avoids conflict at all costs. This can have a negative impact on our mental health. If we are not expressing ourselves, setting boundaries, saying no when we need to, it can make us prone to feelings of depression and hopelessness, can cause low self-esteem and poor confidence, as well as cause anxiety and increased stress. This can impact physical health by disrupting sleep, affecting weight, blood pressure, can cause digestive issues, headaches and muscle tension, as well as a host of other physical concerns. In trying to cope with physical and emotional discomfort, it is common to turn to unhealthy behaviors in order to feel better. This can result in overeating or undereating, increased alcohol or substance use, excessive spending, or risk-taking behaviors. We may have good ideas but lack the confidence to express them. Maybe we don't ask for the raise or the promotion we deserve, and when feedback is not given or received or actively sought out, personal and professional growth is stunted. Making changes are more difficult, and because we are avoiding conflict, problems do not get addressed or solved and can actually compound or worsen. If we aren't expressing our wants and our needs to others, then we're not likely to get our needs met. This can result in feeling unfulfilled. We may not be asking for help or saying no when we need to, which can create anger and resentment. This anger and resentment can build up and become aggression. We stuff and stuff and stuff our feelings until we explode inappropriately, which often reinforces that we should not express our anger, and in turn reinforces holding it in. Alternatively, we stuff and stuff and stuff our feelings and turn it inwards, where it can become depression and anxiety. People in our lives who care may want to help and support us, but will not be successful if they don't have direction and don't know what we want or actually need. If we are not actively participating in getting our needs met, this can prompt others to step in and take care of it for us. This will not likely be effective and can even be viewed as manipulative. This can lead to anger, frustration, and resentment, which negatively impacts our relationships. This can also leave us feeling alone and isolated, because if we're not expressing what we want and think and feel and believe, all those things that make us special and unique, then the people in our lives do not really get to know us for who we are. We will have less intimacy and less connection. We've explored the costs and negative consequences of passive communication. So why do we use it? It's important to emphasize that we all use each of these communication styles at some point or another, to some degree or another, and we may use some styles more than others. There are certain situations or relationships where we may adopt an assertive, passive, or an aggressive approach. And as we look at making changes, it's important to build awareness into why we do what we do, to understand what we get out of it, so we can find healthier ways to get our needs met. Some of the benefits of using a passive communication style is that we get to postpone or avoid dealing with conflict. This is only short term, as it is rarely possible to avoid dealing with conflict or difficult situations forever. This may actually serve to cause an increase in anxiety, because if we avoid dealing with something for so long, our confidence and our ability to deal with it decreases. But in the short term, we see a reduction in stress and anxiety as we get to avoid the uncomfortable situation. We may also buy approval as being seen as a yes person who doesn't say no or set boundaries. We can be seen as agreeable and not someone who rocks the boat. If we don't express our thoughts and feelings, wants, needs, and beliefs, if we are agreeable and we avoid conflict, then we're not in control of making our life decisions, and we leave that up to others to do for us. This was viewed as a negative consequence in the last slide, as it can have a negative impact on our relationships and is not effective in getting our needs met, but it can also be a benefit as well. This takes the pressure off from having to make the right decision, as well as removes the responsibility for the consequences of making the wrong decision. We'll move on to the cost of aggressive communication. To review, this is a direct style of communication where our wants, needs, thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are expressed at the expense of others. The physical and emotional toll this takes has a similar impact that using a passive style has. There are many conditions associated with chronic stress. High blood pressure, heart disease, digestive issues, headaches, sleep disturbance, depression, anxiety, poor confidence, and low self-esteem. In effort to manage these uncomfortable emotions, there is the same potential for addictions and unhealthy coping, increased alcohol and substance use, misusing prescription medications, spending, overeating, or engaging in risk-taking behaviors. The aggressive communication style tends to make enemies, and you can become more fearful and vulnerable. It often brings on an aggressive response. This can result in physical injury and can also have legal consequences. It can result in the loss of control later, as people leave and stop trusting or engaging with us. There's a loss of respect. We may be viewed as a bully or a hothead, and professionally, it can impact our reputation and even result in job loss. There may be feelings of guilt and remorse for exploding or handling situations poorly. And again, here we see less intimacy and connection, as this communication style tends to alienate others from us, which results in loneliness. Benefits of using an aggressive communication style are that we likely get what we want, feel less vulnerable, and more in control, at least in the short term. An aggressive approach can have a benefit in the workplace if we are going after our goals and are not concerned about the consequences it has for others. Exploding and releasing our emotions can also relieve tension. This brings us to the end of video 1. Video 2 will explore the assertive communication style and using I statements. Thanks for watching.